I like it. He's working
Yeah. That's the route. Next door to the clerk, she's gonna do an order for us. Miss Anderson.
Hey, thank you. Can I ask you a question? This is Tuesday morning, right? My question is, we're going to want to follow along and take some video, but we give you our word. We wouldn't show any jurors out there on TV, just like we wouldn't in here.
Okay, that's good.
And that wouldn't be live streamed anyway.
No, I wouldn't. Miss Anderson. Is Elisa Anderson? All right.
Yeah, right here.
You know that story you was talking about? You know, these are court watchers over there. Okay, good. Okay, great. All right, let's start. Yeah. No, you can't. They'll be in the van. You can't photo them going in the van, but you know what I'm saying?
No, yeah.
We're just gonna, that's the route though.
But the tour out there, I mean, we would edit our video to make sure no
Of course,
jurors are
please, yeah.
But we wanted to follow along.
Well,
on the tour.
we wouldn't show.
The 3-hour tour.
Pinky promise.
What's that?
Pinky promise.
Absolutely.
Okay.
5-finger promise.
Okay.
What time is this?
Well, you're meeting here at 9:30 and then they're gonna...
No, we're gonna do it at night.
You're gonna do it at night now?
Yeah.
Oh, when did that change?
I'm just kidding. We're gonna do it in the morning. We're gonna do it at 9:45. The van and everybody, then they'll assemble, and then we're gonna do 2 vans and we're gonna roll out.
Okay.
So meet here.
Yeah.
What time?
9:45. They'll be in the van. The vans, we need 2. Mr. Bashir, are you ready, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, where's the second?
Yes, Your Honor.
Just 1 second, I'm waiting for Madam Stenographer.
Cynthia.
Yeah. Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? All right, very good. Madam, call the case, please, madam.
Yes. Case number 13-8320 versus Robert Bashara.
Appearance for the record.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. John Boytala for the people.
Lisa Lindsay on behalf of the state of Michigan.
Mr. Ambrose.
Ronald Ambrose, appearing on behalf of Mr. Bashara.
Okay, Mr. Bashir, please take the stand.
Could I just have 1 minute with my attorney, Your Honor?
Take your time.
Thank you.
Okay. Let us know when you're ready. Okay. Mr. Ambrose, you ready, sir?
Yes.
Be careful now.
Did I do that?
Get your paperwork.
What did I do?
Oh, no, nothing.
Oh.
Back on the record. You may proceed, Counselor. You gotta speak up a little bit, please.
I will. Mr. Bashara, we talked a little bit about your Rotary service. It was on cross-examination, correct?
Yes.
And in addition to your service with the Rotary, you wanted your attorneys to get more into your community service as a whole, is that right?
Yes, I did. I thought it was very, very important, given all the negative press that was created by the police, by the prosecution, in feeding the media.
Okay. And what were more of the areas that you wanted to get into?
Well, I think it's very important to look that, my grandfather and my father were very active in the community. And I learned from them, and even from my mother, who taught me that, you don't want to just be a bystander when you go through life, to try to do as much as you can do to help people out. And that was really my passion in community service, was that I didn't just, I'll give you a couple quick examples if I might. In Rotary, I didn't just show up to lunch, have lunch, serve on a committee or two. I was involved in numerous committees. I participated in every fundraiser, auction. I became president. I became assistant district governor. When it came to the church, I didn't just show up on Sunday and worship. I was on the vestry twice. I did fundraisers. I did started the fireworks festival. And when it came to my family, and Jane's family, for example, I'll give you a quick example. When her youngest sister, Julie, had trouble getting pregnant,
No, just kidding.
Pardon?
Go ahead. I'm just going ahead. I'm sorry.
When she had trouble getting pregnant, and I recommended Dr. Strickler, she said, well, we already went to him, but he's not taking any new patients.
Well, he just want to say what he did, okay? Okay.
Thank you. And as a result, Dr. Strickler was a neighbor, and his wife was in Rotary, and I was able to get her to see him. 6 months later, she's pregnant. So I tried to go above and beyond in everything I did.
Okay, appreciate that. Now, that more or less feeds into your involvement in the lifestyle?
Well,
tell us how it does.
Well, absolutely.
How what? The Rotary?
No. Go ahead.
Others?
Okay, cool.
Was that part of your reason for getting into this lifestyle?
Well,
Not others in the lifestyle? Is that what your question is, Mr. Amber?
What's that, Your Honor?
That he wanted to help others, that's how he was a part of the lifestyle?
I am asking him that.
Okay.
The reason that I got into the lifestyle was I discovered it on the website, and I wasn't just looking at pornography. I was on a lot of the betting sites that, not the FanDuel, but the Bet Us and the different ones, because I enjoyed playing football and looking at football lines and things. And a lot of these pornographic sites... That's how I got acquainted with the lifestyle. But the more I learned and the more I read about the lifestyle, I saw that women were being abused. Submissive women were being abused by men in the name of rough sex. And they wanted to simply to develop their submission safely and privately and appropriately, as opposed to being taken advantage of.
All right. Now, as it relates to...
So you were kind of a rescuer.
Well, you know what, I got to tell you, Your Honor, I helped a lot of women. I did, and a lot of them I never met, because I advised them on how to proceed with a dominant. As the more I learned, this didn't happen overnight. I got into this about 2004, 2005 is when I started getting, reviewing these websites and getting into it. And the more I talked to people and the more I learned, yeah, I did. I counseled a number of women and some men as well. There were submissive men that approached me, and I wasn't interested, because I'm not bisexual, I wasn't interested in that type of relationship.
But you helped counsel them.
But I
understand their role as a submissive.
That and also with personal issues, with child issues, custody. Some of them had custody issues, and I directed them on what they should maybe do. Financial issues with their house or with a lease and whatnot.
So you didn't just come to the lifestyle to take?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, now, prior to,
Sorry, Your Honor. I'm sorry.
No.
I'm trying to show you respect.
Thank you.
so can you, how would you define your real life with your, I guess, lifestyle?
Well, I think there's a parallel there. In my real life, I again went above and beyond. I tried to help people. Jane and the kids and I were doing wonderfully. Okay, we had certainly, in any family, you have bumps in the road. My son had an issue where we sent him to a child psychologist to have him work through those issues.
That's fine. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, let's get away from that. Counsel, you understand this is just redirect.
I understand.
And it's limited by cross-examination, sir.
Yeah.
Please.
So,
Well, let me,
So stop asking all these open-ended questions and going into areas that have not been fully explored.
well, the whole
What?
I think the whole lifestyle issue was based, I mean, she cross-examined him on some of these things.
Okay, but not about his son going to counseling?
Okay, well, I mean,
And I cross-examined him specifically about lies he told to people as it relates to
Yeah,
the
but I don't want to
relationship.
get into anything with that we didn't talk about on on cross-examination, please.
all right, well, let's talk about some of the lies. You had a relationship with Benita Porter,
I did.
And who was Benita Porter?
She was a...
Bonita?
Vanita,
Bonita, okay, Bonita.
Yep, V-E-N-I-T, yes, I had, and she was a woman that I had met online, and that had issues with her children, had issues with her husband.
all right, but you had a similar type of relationship that you had with Rachel Gillette, is that an accurate statement?
Absolutely.
Okay, now, you told Benita Porter a bunch of lies as well, is that correct?
Not a bunch, I told her the same thing, that I was looking to, leave, I was gonna leave Jane, and that, yeah, I told her similar things, correct.
All right, and she eventually finds out?
Yes, well, she didn't find out because there was nothing to find out because she knew I was never leaving Jane. And I think that's exactly why she was never called as a witness, because it would have shown that,
Witness, that's going to speculation.
okay,
Okay, go
I'm
ahead.
sorry.
Would you have liked to have her called as a witness?
Objection, Your Honor, because A, she wasn't a person who he listed in his affidavit as the people.
Outside scope,
Yes.
outside scope.
Okay,
Here's the affidavit right here. It has to be with the
And
container.
it's not even it listed in the motion. He filed as the people he wanted called. It's not even in that motion.
Right. Go ahead, counsel.
With regard to Benita Porter?
yes,
Okay. You had a similar relationship with her?
I did.
Okay. And that relationship had run its course, is that accurate?
Yes, very accurate.
And did you think that you were about the same area with Rachel Gillette?
Oh, yes, I think so. It was similar. There's a difference between the two. Vanita had children that I was not interested in helping any more than I already did. So there, I helped provide them with some church. I helped provide them with food and clothing.
But as it relates to Rachel Gillette,
She didn't have children that were of the raising age, of the young age that the other woman did. So I felt I think that's why we continued a little longer in that relationship.
did you have a feeling that that relationship had run its course? or-
Absolutely.
And why is that?
Well,
It's not relevant why he don't want to see Vanita no more.
no,
No,
she's,
we're asking regarding Miss Gillette.
Oh, okay.
yes, yes. In the summer of 2011, actually before that, she had set me up a couple times with women that I had talked to.
Who? Rachel?
Yes.
And you saying that you discontinued your relationship with her in 2011?
That what?
You discontinued your relationship with her?
No, I didn't say that.
Oh, okay, go ahead,
No.
I'm sorry.
But you had felt that The relationship was going to run its course.
Correct.
Okay, and was there any intent whatsoever to purchase this Kensington property with Rachel Gillette?
Absolutely not.
Okay. Your purpose of making the offer to purchase with what?
Was simply to get prices. I did it on 3 different occasions to get prices on homes and let Jane know that you can buy a house that was between 2,000 and 3,000 square feet for around $200,000.
All right, so Kensington wasn't the first property that you put an offer to purchase?
No, it was not.
Okay, and you did the
But that
same...
was gonna be for you and Jane.
Any house that I bought was going to
I
be
mean,
for
the
Jane and I.
Okay, so you just misled Rachel into believing that it was going to be for her and another slave?
Absolutely. She brought in the other slave idea. That was not me that did that. She brought that in, and I
So when you
agreed
went
to
the
it.
house with the realtor, and there were certain questions that were asked about accommodations for 3 people living there, that you alluded that Rachel made, that wasn't true. It was just gonna be for you and Jane.
Not as far as I was concerned, it's not true, no.
Okay.
I had no intent on living with Rachel or living with a third person. I had no intent on leaving Jane. And if Jane was not brutally murdered, I probably would still be in the lifestyle, I would have still gone on our second honeymoon that we planned in January of 2011.
Objection, speculation, Mr. Aldis.
Right.
Well,
Okay.
go ahead.
One of the things that made you think that Miss Gillette and yourself had run the relationship course was she had found out that you went to Hawaii?
That's correct.
All right, and when did she find that out?
Objection, Judge, this all exceeds
It's the
the
same.
scope of my cross.
It's the
If he wanted to
same.
ask all this, he could have asked on his direct.
Your Honor, she was getting into everything with regard to Rachel Gillette. I just want to expound on this.
No, I was asking specifically about lies that were told.
No reference into the Hawaii trip.
Well, but it's something that he never informed Miss Gillette of.
But
And-
that's not a basis for a new trial. We're not retrying this. This is not a retrial. This is a request for a retrial.
Understood. But the lifestyle was a...
Counsel,
pretty big-
move on.
I will. There was some testimony on cross-examination with regard to your involvement in counseling with Jane.
In which?
Counseling with
Counseling.
Jane?
Yes,
Can
okay.
you voice up, Mr. Ambrose?
I will.
Thank you. In counseling, yes.
All right, now what was the reason why you and Jane went to counseling?
You're talking about marriage counseling
Marriage
now of the,
counseling, right.
okay, yeah. Well, when we took Jessica to, Jessica had a similar situation with sleeping that Robert did, and we took, well,
ahead.
because the counselor referred, when we went to counseling with Jessica, she suggested that, Jessica shared with her that a couple times she had caught me on the,
Objection, Your Honor. What him talking about, what Jessica talked about with the counselor, I think is inappropriate. He can basically say, we went for family issues or whatever, but he should not be divulging
Right.
anything that relates
right.
to his daughter.
Right, you shouldn't, but anyway, let me just ask this, just to speed it along.
Sure.
There came a time when you went to counseling with your child and the issue of you viewing pornography came up.
yes, it did.
And that's what led to the issue of going to family counseling with you and your
The counselor that we saw, Dr. Stipik, suggested that that it would be good for Jessica if Jane and I went to a marriage counselor.
And that's what you did.
And we agreed, absolutely.
Go ahead.
When was that?
You know, I don't recall the specific
I mean, what year,
days. I
like
think it was
2009,
2010, I think, is
Okay,
when it
right.
was.
Did that help your relationship?
Yeah, absolutely. It allowed Jane and I to take some of the rough edges off, to open up. The one counselor, we saw actually 3 different counselors. One died in mid-counseling.
What? One of your counselors died?
He had a heart attack and died, yes. And then another counselor came in and said he's taken over his cases. And so he contacted us and we agreed to see him. What he did was ask us to fill that brief list that was in the notebook out about why we fight. And that was one of the things that we had done. I did my list and Jane did hers.
Okay, and that was a helpful,
It was very helpful.
all right. And was there any intent afterwards to divorce Jane?
None whatsoever. In January of 2011, Jane and I planned a second honeymoon to the Dominican Republic.
I'm gonna object at this point, because all he's doing essentially is testifying the way he would have testified at trial, and he chose not to.
I'm gonna give a little latitude overrule. Go on.
So we planned that. We went to Hawaii in the spring of 2011. We shared the auction together in 2011 in December. We had 30 members of Jane's family over Christmas Eve. So there was nothing, we did not skip a beat, and I loved Jane dearly.
All right, now, did Jane know anything about Rachel Gillette?
No, she did not.
So was that important to you to keep that?
Yes, it was. My promise to Jane is that I wouldn't embarrass her or the family.
All right, now.
And so I did keep my lifestyle private.
Okay, and your first meetings with Rachel Gillette, what year was that?
You know, I want to back up a little bit.
No, that's not your opportunity. No, excuse me.
Well, I misspoke. I misspoke, Your Honor. He asked me, did Jane know about Rachel Gillette? Rachel did rent from us, and she did know that Rachel was a tenant.
All right.
So, yes.
But she didn't know about your relationship?
Correct, not about the lifestyle, no.
And,
I want to
So
be
that was-
100% honest here, okay?
Of course, that's right.
and that was important to you to...
Which?
keep that-
But to be honest,
To be honest and to keep it keep the relationship away from Jane.
Yes, everyone. I didn't want everyone to know what I was doing in my private life,
All
no.
right, and you first met with Rachel Gillette, what year was that?
2008, I think.
Okay, so there were a handful of times where you were out in public with Miss Gillette?
Yes.
Okay. Now, the motion that was filed was with regard, a part of it at least, was with regard to your trial attorneys, correct?
That's correct.
And now, who were your first attorneys?
My first attorneys were Mark Procida, Nancy Schell, and Renee Cooper.
And they were appointed for you at the start of the case?
That's correct.
Why were they removed?
Objection, Your Honor. This exceeds the
Sustained.
scope of cross, has nothing to do
Sustained.
with anything.
It does have something to do
It
with
still exceeds the scope of cross.
sustain, sustain, move on, please.
Your Honor, if I can just present a record.
Yes, you may, sir.
All right. The prosecution has stated that Mr. Bashara was dissatisfied with all these attorneys. I just want to get the point out that he never asked to have these prior attorneys removed from this case. The first attorneys or the second set of attorneys, and then finally in April.
It goes beyond the reason why he needs a new trial. Whatever reason they were removed has nothing to do with him having a new trial.
It does, Your Honor, because the attorneys that were eventually appointed on the case was in, I think it was March and April of 2014. And that was 6 to 7 months prior to trial. These attorneys did not have a chance to...
Counsel, this is not closing statement.
Okay.
All right, move on.
I will. What, were you aware at any point, well, what did your trial attorneys give you regarding the discovery?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear
Your
that.
trial attorneys, what did they give you in terms of the discovery in this case?
Objection.
Very little.
This exceeds the scope. See, the problem is, he had direct. He didn't go into any of that. On my cross, I didn't talk at all about discovery, what his attorneys gave him in discovery. Now he wants to essentially go back and do his redirect again. Do his direct again.
Your Honor, we're talking about the trial attorneys, and in cross-examination, there was much was said about the trial attorneys. I just want to get more into this.
I'm gonna let you go into this one discovery area and then that's it. And then come, okay.
All right. Were you ever provided with Joseph Gentz's statements?
No,
No,
Not at all.
Said, object. He asked that on his direct. He
Sustained.
Your Honor, this is an evidentiary hearing. I'm trying to get out, these are important issues that needed to be brought out. And I understand, at least initially, Joseph Gentz's statements was objected to, but it is a very important part of the case.
Well, you should have asked about it earlier.
I did,
on.
Your Honor.
Counsel, move on.
Well, can I,
About the discovery.
okay. And I still want to ask him about whether it was helpful
Helpful to do what?
to assist in his defense reading the discovery.
Well, first of all, Judge, he asked these questions about Gentz's statement on his direct. He did. That's already on the record. I asked nothing about it on cross. So why is he going back to something he already asked on his direct?
Sustained.
Your Honor, we didn't even get into Joseph Gentz's statements. She objected, you wouldn't allow it.
Okay, so why are you trying to do it now?
Because she, I would say, opened the door.
And I'd say she didn't. Move on.
When this present case was initiated against you, you were incarcerated at that time, is that correct?
That's correct.
And how long had you been incarcerated?
Well, I don't recall when I was formally charged, but I was incarcerated in June of 2012, and I don't think I was charged until 2013.
Okay. And at that point, did you have access to addresses of any of your family members, or did you have you had some access to some of your family members?
I had some.
Okay.
A lot of them had changed though, so I didn't know what was correct.
Okay, so when you heard testimony from the investigators that they weren't provided with addresses and contact
Objection, Your Honor. This exceeds the scope of my cross.
Sustained.
were you able to, actually it doesn't, Your Honor.
I've ruled that it does, so you gotta move on.
On cross-examination, there was testimony about your involvement with Joseph Gentz, correct?
Yes.
And initially, when did you first meet with him?
I met with him originally, he called me on 9/27 of 2011.
How many times did it take for you guys to actually contact one another over the phone?
I went through the phone list, which I have with me. There were 41 calls between 9/27/11 and 10/8/11 when he came to sign the lease. 41 phone calls. And may I refer to my notes, Your Honor?
If they'll refresh you.
Yes.
And while you're doing that, this was, Joseph Gentz was sent to you by Steve Tabato?
That's correct.
Okay.
Of those 41 calls, over 11 days, 17 of them were under 35 seconds, never, in my opinion, never connected.
Objections is his opinion.
Sustained. You don't know if they connected or not, Mr. Bashir. You can't say that. I'm
Well,
sorry.
Okay,
Do you recall them being ever connected?
no.
So it took a while for you guys to actually meet after a number of phone calls?
That was the reason for the large number of phone calls between Mr. Gentz and I, because one,
I'm at this, really, what does this have to do with the reasons we are here for the motion for the new trial? How is that related? First of all, he's testified about his belief that they didn't connect on direct. He talked about that on direct. We talked about it on cross, about the number of calls, and essentially my cross of him is about the threats. Did he feel threatened by the calls? That was a thrust of my cross on the calls, and he said he didn't feel threatened. Now all he's doing is going back and having him re-repeat what he said on
I'm not
direct.
gonna allow that, that's inappropriate. Go ahead, counsel, move on.
You're right. I want to get into some of the, because it's important. The
Mr.
actual-
Ambrose, I gave you ample opportunity to do direct. We were here almost 2 days, I believe, doing your direct. If it's something you forgot, you can't go back and put it in. That's not the purpose of redirect. You know that, counsel. Redirect is to clear up anything that was said on cross-examination, not to put in proofs that you wanted to on direct examination.
Your Honor, there were a number of areas.
Moreover, counsel, didn't I order a transcript?
You did, and
Excuse me?
you did.
Okay, very good. And their area, so you knew what we had covered. Now, if you would like to refer to the transcripts, page line, did you say this and what was your response to clear up? That's fine, but not open-ended question like what you're doing.
But that's the thing, Your Honor, I haven't received the transcripts. They were ordered. by
Off the
my-
record. She didn't do it. The first one.
Judge, for the record, his entire testimony was on YouTube. If he wanted to look at his client's testimony, like I did, take notes so I could know exactly what he said. That's why I was so sure when I said, you said this and you said that, because I sat up and unfortunately watched the whole thing on YouTube so I could pinpoint what had been gone over and what had not been gone
Well,
over.
counsel, I appreciate and applaud your extraordinary lengths that you went to. However, I'm not going to require lawyers to go on YouTube or Facebook or Instagram to find out what's going on, or Twitter. So this is what we're going to do. I just consulted with Madam Stenographer, and I think he's trying to do it by memory, and that's the problem. Those transcripts are not going to be available. This is what we're going to do, unfortunately. You said it'd be available Monday. You bring them Monday. Are you available the 3rd, Madam, of December?
I can make myself
Okay, let's just do December 3rd. Those transcripts will be available Monday. This is what I need for you to do, Mr. Ambrose, and I know you will review the transcripts, and then we're going to do specific areas that were covered on cross, okay?
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Court's in recess. Mr. Bashara, you're going to come back December 3rd, so we can, your lawyer can have the transcripts, okay? I know you're disappointed, but unfortunately, that's all we can do.
No, this is important.
Of course, it's important to everyone.
I would still-
Is it an issue?
No, Your Honor, it has nothing to do with this. It's just before we recessed, there was a motion that Mr. Ambrose had brought regarding the medical records. And I didn't know whether the court was going to address that or not.
Well, we'll do that once we finish this examination.
Thank you.
Okay, very good. So, I'll see everybody December 3rd. Will you want to stay here?
Yes, ma'am. I would like to.
You don't want to go back?
No.
All right, very good. Okay. Mr. Ambrose, are you available December 3rd?
I am. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, very good. Let's say December. Ask Madam Clerk to see what's here for December.
Your Honor, I have 2 documents I'd like to put into the record. They're not finished yet. Now that you've given us more time, I'll finish them up, but I have 2 documents I'd like to enter in. I just want to make it a part of the record prior to the end of this hearing.
Well, Your Honor, I would like an opportunity to see him and object, because you can't keep supplementing and adding to your motions that you put in.
Yeah.
December the 3rd. Could you check and see if
I think Johnson said
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. No, we're gonna say December 3rd. I just need you to check on that. Go ahead, madam.
The issue is, a motion was filed. Then the court gave Mr. Ambrose an additional deadline to submit additional documents and affidavits. He did not do that by that deadline date. Then, since that deadline date, he comes up with another motion for medical records, and now Mr. Bashara wants to submit more additional documents. The purpose for the court giving dates about when things are due is so this hearing has to end at some point. And if he keeps on submitting more and more and more just because we have more time, that's not fair to anybody. Things are done, and at some point there has to be a finality to court's decisions, to jury verdicts, to court's deadlines. And now just because we have an additional date, he wants to throw in some more documents. I would say, if the court is going to allow it, that we have ample time to review them so we can object to them, or just flat out say no because you've had all the deadlines in the world to submit things, and then when something happens.
Mr. Ambrose, do you know what these documents deal with, sir?
I do, but I just need to clarify the record a little bit. The only thing that was stated, you gave me a deadline as to affidavits, that was it. And I don't see a problem if quite frankly, with all the testimony, I'd like to use that as part of the supplemental brief for the court so that it can evaluate everything after everything is done. So that there's, I mean, this is supposed to be a search for the truth, Your Honor, and not just a, that's how the trial.
The search for the truth, half the stuff could have been testified to by the defendant. A lot of the stuff can only have come from the defendant. The defendant opted not to take the stand. This is supposed to be the search for the truth, but the court heard today when the people tried to get documents from his investigator that he claims are supposed to help him in this case. He had an attorney file motions to prevent it. Yeah, it's supposed to be for the search for the truth, but you just can't keep going on and on and on. And counsel was supposed to know what his claims were before he came into court, not let Mr. Bashara get on the stand and ramble on and say, oh, hey, we can supplement some claims, or hey, maybe we can throw this against the wall and see what sticks. You can't keep doing that. If he didn't have all his ducks in a row, maybe he shouldn't have filed his motion in the first place, but you just can't keep supplementing it, going on and on and on, because we'll be here forever.
Mr. Ambrose.
Like I said, Your Honor, a lot of things I don't know prior to holding the evidentiary hearing. That's the purpose of an evidentiary hearing.
Wait a minute, Mr. Ambrose. You have an opportunity to go and visit with Mr. Bashara prior to this hearing.
I can't hear you, I'm sorry.
It's not for you to hear.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You filed a 78-page motion for new trial. That's in excess of what they filed for the Supreme Court, okay? I've given you ample opportunity to develop this record. You cannot, this is not a fishing expedition. You have to interview him, which I know you did. You're a very capable, experienced lawyer. But I agree with Ms. Lindsay. We will have a trial by default by doing what we're doing. We've already been in session in excess of 5 days. Where is it going to end? Now the motions, what do they cover, sir?
It's not a motion. And
Let me just say this to you, Mr. Bashara.
Yes.
You have to trust Mr. Ambrose. He is a very capable, qualified attorney. And he will let you know based on his appellate experience. And that's why he was chosen by Chief Judge Kenny. Because of his experience and expertise in the law to assist you. But you're going to have to file those motions. Do you understand that, sir?
I appreciate that. Yeah.
Very good. Okay, see you later. 9:30, December 3rd. And I'm going to keep you here so that you can help your lawyer, okay?
Thank you.
Okay. You can have those transfers. They'll be ready for you to pick up.
Were the first transcripts?
Did you get those?
No.
The days I was
Right, the first two ones.
I need it. There was another one. Do you have one?
I do, Your Honor, and I can get digital copies of Mr.
And Mr. Ambrose, I did indicate that would be at state expense. So can we get them forthwith? Mr. Ambrose with it.
Absolutely. As soon as I get back into the office, I'll email them over to you.
Very good. Okay, thank you. I'll see you December 3rd, sir. Mr. Bashara. I think she was there both. She was there both days. Because we went to school. She could have come back.
Never. No, why ever? Not when I print online.
But she did, I don't know what that girl was. But the first year, she had to copy. Well, we do have them. Court's in recess.